Room 442 is presented by North Star Bets. That's a win.
2.5 England legends, a Champions League winner, the third longest serving head coach in the division, and 2 bosses kicked out in a single day. On Sunday night, Brendan Rodgers and Graham Potter became the 11th and 12th names on an ever-growing list of managerial casualties, joining the likes of Scott Parker, Frank Lampard, Stevie G, Thomas Tuchel, and Ralph Hasenhüttl in what's become the bloodiest Premier League season in history. 3 top-flight clubs now have interim managers, 2 have changed head coaches twice since the start of the season, Crystal Palace have re-employed a 75-year-old pensioner, and Chelsea have just handed their $1.5 billion squad to a stand-in cone handler who's never picked a starting 11. Chelsea are literally killing it this season, killing their identity, killing their self-respect, and killing any chance of European football next campaign. Soccer expert Todd Bowley bet big on Graham Potter back in September, paying in excess of $36 million for a head coach who, according to scouting reports, not only had a great beard but also led massive club Ostersund to Swedish League Cup glory back in 2017. With Potter lasting just 203 days in West London, it turns out that the laws of the rational universe do apply to football after all, and Chelsea will now seek a third manager of the 2022-23 campaign. Thankfully, the names are considerably more decorated this time around, with Julian Nagelsmann, Luis Enrique, and Mauricio Pochettino all in the frame. Nagelsmann is the favorite, having won the Bundesliga last season with Bayern Munich and widely regarded as the best young manager in the game. Luis Enrique left his role as the Spain manager after the Qatar World Cup and would instantly command respect in the dressing room. Pochettino would be right at home in the English capital, having led Spurs to a Champions League final during his tenure in North London. Whoever gets the job, Chelsea could be a poisoned chalice for a little while longer. And with Steve Cooper and David Moyes looking shaky in their respective posts at Forest and West Ham, there's still time for even more Premier League sackings this season. I'm joined with James Sharman now, and James, it has been a bloodbath for managers this season in the Premier League. 12 managers sacked, a record-breaking number for the Premier League. We've never seen it before.
Yeah, I mean, what is this? The new Serie A, who used to just fire managers for fun. The Prem always showed a bit more patience, a bit more stability, but not this year. You know, I guess it's so important to get results, to not be relegated, to finish in the European spot. So much money is being spent, budgets must be met. So people like Graham Potter are the fall men. And I think it's extremely unfair. David Moyes, mentioned that this past weekend. I mean, that's one manager also on the brink right now, West Ham. But it's extremely unfair. These guys come in. It takes time to formulate a game plan, to get your players on board. Most managers need a pre-season. These guys don't get it. And then the patience is so thin that after 3 or 4 average to slightly below average months, guys like him get fired. I don't know. I'm not sure I agree with it, but it's modern football, right? These guys are paid to win. They're paid handsomely, £12 million a year, for example, Graham Potter. So it's a tough world, but they know what they're getting into.
Yeah. When I was looking back at the season that we've had so far, I had to remind myself, how many managers were sacked? Who were they from? Which clubs and what it looked like? So we had a board put together for everyone else to just see how many managers were really sacked. And I mean, look at the numbers here. There's 13 managers there because obviously Graham Potter left Brighton, then eventually was sacked at Chelsea over the weekend. But the likes of Nathan Jones you brought up.
I remember those times.
Ralph Hasenhüttl. I feel like it's been several seasons in one. I cannot believe that this is only one Prem season.
Yeah, when a club like Southampton fires the manager not once but twice in one season, something's gone very wrong there.
2 clubs, though. We see Southampton and we see Chelsea.
And Chelsea as well, yeah, precisely, right? So you make the big move, you fire your manager earlier in the campaign, you bring a guy in that you think's the right man, and then he's also the wrong guy. I mean, that comes from the top. That's mistakes filtering down from the very, very top. It's crazy. And mention Nathan Jones. He was there for what? A cup of tea? Maybe a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Not long at all. Not long enough really to establish himself. But the threat of relegation is so fearsome for these owners, because what comes with that is hundreds of millions of pounds you could be earning, and you're not going to earn anymore. So that the fear of that is such that the patience is wearing so thin. But man, it's a tough gig.
Well, I mean, Scott Parker as well for Bournemouth. August 30th, I saw. The league started, I think, August 11th or 12th.
Yeah.
Just in
And
for
Scott Parker goes to Club Bruges, lasts, 6 weeks there? Then he gets fired?
It's funny with managers, though, how it's just like a cycle of where they all go. And we're seeing that now with Chelsea. We'll get to Graham Potter in a moment, as he is the most recent manager to be sacked. But I asked you off camera, who was the most shocking manager on that list?
Yeah, the one that shocked me the most, I would say, is probably Thomas Tuchel at Chelsea. Listen, they did have a very bad start to the season, and they spent last summer. But Thomas Tuchel's highly respected. Chelsea were built for success, or so we thought, of course. So when he got fired, I thought, man, this new owner, Todd Bowley, is taking no prisoners. Who's going to be the new man? And that better be a guy with thick skin. In comes Graham Potter. He then gets fired, of course. But Tuchel, as we see now, is now at Bayern Munich. Just one game in.
He's having a laugh somewhere, isn't he?
He's having a big laugh right now in Munich. Yeah, absolutely. But it's crazy because this is a pedigree coach who's done it. He's won before. And you give him, less than a month on the job at the new club with the new ownership, and that you fire him. It's just crazy. Patrick Vieira shocked me as well.
Yeah.
You look at Crystal Palace this year. They were in a really tough stretch of games, really bad, really hard teams against the top teams in the country. They're still around mid-table. They fire him, and now you got a lot of easier games coming up for the returning Roy Hodgson, who of course left football entirely last year, we thought. Remember at Watford, he was there on the sidelines.
So we thought.
The shades.
Yeah.
And he's saying, well, I won't get another job in the Premier League. Well, you did, Roy, back at Palace.
Yeah. Yeah.
No
full
creativity
circle.
or, half these owners, I don't think.
No, for sure. Brendan Rodgers and Graham Potter were the two unfortunate managers who joined that long list over the weekend. Brendan Rodgers sacked from Leicester. To be fair, Leicester have been shocking this season, so we saw that one coming. But Graham Potter sacked from Chelsea after what a whirlwind of a season it has been. From Tuchel to Bowley to Potter to £323 million spent in a month.
Yeah, 8 new players in January.
Yeah, it's just I spoke to so many people about this, but I just don't think it makes sense to sack him now, knowing where they stand. They're obviously, forget title, but I mean, getting a top 4 spot, UCL contention out the window. So your best bet is maybe if things go well, Europa League. But the season's washed for you guys already.
Well, although they are in the Champions League quarterfinals, right, against Real Madrid.
Yeah.
And he got them there.
Yeah.
So he's got something to him, right? Cup football, it seems to be working, not in the league. And listen, this guy comes aboard, tons of injuries, new owner spends that much money, all these new players, doesn't sell. There's over 30 players in that first team squad. Way too many for any manager. A lot of those egos in that room apparently were out of control, didn't respect him either. So there would have been a clear out this summer caused by him. He would have forced them out and got the group that he wants. So why fire him now? Because you're right, Champions League aside, the season's a wash. They're not going to finish in the European spots. They're not going to be relegated. So give them a few more weeks. See what happens, right? And there's no loss there. So I thought it was a real strange one. Maybe they want to get another manager in sooner than later. Maybe they want Julian Nagelsmann in right now, although the rumours are that they're going to interview 6-7 different managers for the job and hire in the summer. I don't know. It's a strange one. Todd Bowley comes in like a whirlwind, right? Last summer, the new owner, replacing Roman Abramovich. And I don't think he knows the first thing about soccer. He's proven that by what he says. But he's doing things his way. He's reinventing the wheel, and we'll see if it works. But right now, I just don't know what he's doing.
No, not a clue. I mean, if I'm a manager right now, I'm not touching Chelsea with a 10-foot pole. That is a scary-looking side. Can you imagine Chelsea somehow managed to win the Champions League but finished 10th in the Prem?
Well, remember they won it with Roberto Di Matteo, and then they fired him early the next season, having won it.
Yeah, no.
It's a tough club, no matter who owns that club.
All right.
It's a poison chalice in many ways. You might win a trophy, mind you.
I think so. They've gone through managers and players like no other team. But looking at this right now, managers to replace Graham Potter at Chelsea, Julian Nagelsmann, clearly the favorite. Also breaking news just before this, Fabrizio Romano, the one and only, tweeted out and said that he is the favorite. He's open to discussion, but he's still under contract with Bayern until 2026. So if Chelsea do decide to sign him, the two teams have to kind of come to some sort of agreement on...
Which they will, because Bayern want to get out of that deal.
Get out, please. Right? Yeah. He also mentioned there's no direct talks with Chiche, Alarim, or Spalletti, which I'm thinking, I didn't realize how many coaches are in contention here. But yeah, we saw Nagelsmann. Brendan Rodgers, why?
Well, he's a good coach, right?
Yeah, but
he's got success. He's taken Leicester to, 2 fifth-place finishes, won the FA Cup, great at Swansea. In Celtic and Scotland, listen, we can get into what that really means. He won a lot there as well. He's got history at Chelsea as Mourinho's number 2 at Stamford Bridge before. But I know what you're saying. I think if they did sign Brendan Rodgers, the fans wouldn't be too happy. He's been linked with Spurs too, and I don't think the fans would think that's a very creative hire either, even though I think he's a good manager. But I understand why he shouldn't be maybe that favoured to get the job. I think Mourinho makes, I guess, the old romantic in us. Yeah, please bring him back to Chelsea, but that's not going to happen.
Well, think about Potter. When he came in, it's his, first real big club. And we don't really know if he can handle it. I guess we'll never know, because was he there for long enough? That's up for debate. But they then signed so many more superstars that I think the likes of a Brendan Rodgers, we might see a similar result. Just not being able to handle the locker room and all the voices.
He was at Liverpool, though, don't forget, right? Did a pretty good job there.
Yeah,
could have won the championship,
well,
with Steven Gerrard slipping.
The Chelsea side, not that the Liverpool side wasn't as good as this Chelsea side or vice versa. I just think it's the amount of superstardom in the room. It's just
they are almost Galactico level on.
And Todd Bowley as well, not to mention. Yeah. So this is interesting because through all those odds, I didn't see one name in specific. And somebody I spoke to recently brought up Antonio Conte. Somebody that wants...
Going back to Chelsea?
Can you imagine?
I think he's burnt enough bridges there to last a lifetime, don't you?
But, I mean, hasn't he everywhere, though? The fact that he still keeps getting jobs is incredible, because there's going to be a turn of a season at some point, and he's going to snap like he always does.
I think, Juve's out there if Allegri leaves. Will they take him back? I don't know. If Spalletti leaves Napoli... Right? Is there a fit there at Napoli with Conte, back in Italy? I listen, if I'm an owner, I'm not touching Conte with a 10-foot pole at this point. I'm just not.
But it's Todd Bowley. He just spends all of his money, and then all Conte wants is to buy players as well and get...
Well, that's true. I guess he's a polar opposite of Potter, right?
Yeah.
Potter seems to be a really nice, patient, calm man. Go for a cup of tea, have a nice little conversation. Whereas Conte is this whirling dervish of hate and anger, just spewing vitriol wherever he can. And so maybe you need the complete opposite to get that room into shape. But I think when he left Chelsea, it wasn't very amicably.
Yeah.
I think even though it's new ownership now, I understand that there's still a lot of people there who were there before. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, so listen, we saw Luis Enrique, Pochettino, Zizou, Mourinho.
Can Zizou get a job somewhere, please? I'm so sick and tired. Every job that opens up, it's going to be Zizou's, and he just sits there and says, "Not right now."
No,
not
he's waiting for that French.
Right.
Well, I mean, also, would he go back to Madrid for a third time?
Well, Ancelotti could be leaving this summer,
I know.
Right?
So, I mean, could we the third time
and win another Champions League? Why not?
Yeah. I just keep coming in and winning. It's fine. It's fine. So Nagelsmann is the favorite here. I guess we'll keep eyes on it. I mean, Chelsea has really given us so much entertainment this season with the amount of change that has happened at this club. I nearly have to thank them, I think, for being employed, because they've made our jobs a lot easier.
Do you think we've spoken more about them than any other club since we started Room 442? Probably, right?
It has to be.
United a fair amount with Ronaldo.
I was going to say we have spoken a lot about United. We have, but that...
we'll get producer Sean to look back on every single Room 442 show over the last year or so and let us know, okay? And he'll report back tomorrow. He's happy to do it.
Through the earpiece, happy to do it. All right. Well, we'll keep tabs on everything, Chelsea, because I'm sure tomorrow something else will be going on.